Well, hello. Welcome, everybody. Coach Kevin here. We're going to go ahead and get started. First thing I want to go ahead and do is share my screen with you and share some things that will be helpful for our meeting today and also going forward. Let's see here. Move some things around on my end and pop up, please. Come on. Looks like it's in kind of stuck mode. Here we go. Let's see if we can get this to come up. Basically, what I'm sharing with you right now, or what I would be sharing with you as soon as it pops up, is we have a Facebook group that coincides with this meetup group. It has the same name. I want to be really rich. Here we go. I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. The only thing is it just doesn't have your city attached to it, the initials. That doesn't matter. This is our group for everybody throughout the country. I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. You can type that into the search and come join us. Or if you can remember this, go to facebook.com/groups/I want to be really rich. Now, why would you want to actually join the Facebook group and participate? A few different reasons. Reason number one, when we have special announcements, they're usually pinned to the top, things that could be very valuable to you. However, what we do is we record the meetings as long as I remember to hit record, which so far every day I have. We go ahead and record those, and then we put them into the Facebook group. So if there's a particular meeting you attended that you really liked, you can go review that meeting. Or if there's a meeting you missed and you want to go ahead and review it, you can go see that meeting. The other thing that we do here in post is when we're studying something or going through something together as a group, I like to, let's see, it's been a few days since we've had a new one. Here we go. I like to actually post the information so that everybody can get a copy of it and follow along with what we're doing. So that would be another reason. And also because you can, another place to interact outside of the 45 minutes or so we have together each day. Okay, next thing I want to do is share with you what we are in the process of studying right now and kind of taking apart and working together on. It is a book called Hidden Treasures. Excuse me. You can go in the Facebook group and get it, but here's another place. If you want to go directly to the source where I got it, I have a paperback copy of it. I have a Kindle copy of it. However, I found out there was the ability to get a free one. So I went here and got the free one and downloaded it. That way I knew how to share it with you guys so that you could go get it for free. But if you go to hiddentreasuresbook.com, you'll see as you scroll a little ways down, a click here for free download. So you can actually download the book and get it for free from the source I got it from. So what is that source? That source is actually a friend of mine, somebody that I've known for many years. When I very first went to for lack of a better term, law of attraction training, I went to a seminar, a 3-day seminar called The Science of Getting Rich. And it was taught and presented by a facilitator for Bob Proctor's programs. Bob Proctor is the author of You Were Born Rich, and he's also highly highlighted in the movie and the book, The Secret. And Leslie had become a coach and facilitator for him and was teaching that seminar, and that's where I met her. We found out that we lived in the same city and stayed close and stayed friends. And she had written some books and things, which I've read. I had read this one a long time ago. And when I recently found out that she had made it available for free, I thought, this one is really good to share with other people. Why is that? Because it goes through and breaks down the laws of the universe that govern receiving more money and wealth into your life. It also helps with other things too. But specifically, I found it to be useful for people that want to increase their incomes and or increase their wealth and prosperity in their lives. And most people have heard of the law of attraction, but the law of attraction is actually a secondary law to the law of vibration. And the law of vibration is only one of 7 laws that actually exist, universal laws, that govern the manifestation and receiving of money and wealth in your lives on the creative plane versus the competitive plane. Now, what am I talking about, creative versus competitive? Well, on the competitive world, let's think of sports for a minute instead of business, okay? And let's think of a professional team. You could still think of college, it'd work the same, or high school. Let's think of a professional sports team, right? At the end of the year, the teams that have the best records are typically playing for a championship. And at the end of playing, there is someone who is crowned the champion. Well, if somebody else is the champion, what is everybody else? Right? They're not the champion, right? They're, you could say, the loser, so to speak, right? They did not win, they lost, and the champion is the one who won. So they're crowned the champion. Well, there can only be one champion at any given time. And you may be on that championship team. You may be the best player on the championship team. However, you may be able to maintain that status for a period of time, but you can't maintain it indefinitely. There's always that fear of, can we do it again? There's always that concern of, am I going to grow too old to keep doing this at the level I'm doing it at? There's always somebody, there's also that possibility that you may be at the top of your game, but somebody's going to come along who's even better than you are, and you will lose that position as the champion. So that there are people out there that go after money, wealth, riches in the competitive plane, but very few succeed at that. And even the ones that do have success with it, there is always that concern that it could be lost or taken away by somebody else. When you manifest and create money on the creative plane, that's not how it works. Every time you do something that actually helps you receive more, it actually helps other people in the world receive more also. So it benefits you and potentially at least another person, but typically you and many other people. And there's laws that govern creating things on the creative plane, and most people aren't aware of them. Well, if you're not aware of the laws, you can hurt yourself inadvertently because you don't understand that you're disobeying those laws. Kind of like the law of gravity. If you step off the edge of a tall building or even a short building, it doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to go down. Okay. Maybe you go down a few feet, or maybe you go down a few hundred feet. Either way, you step off the building, you are going down. That's the law of gravity. Doesn't matter if you didn't understand the law, it's still going to happen. Doesn't matter if you're a good person. Doesn't matter if you work hard. It doesn't matter if you're smart. If you step off the building and there is nothing, you don't have like a harness on you, or there isn't something down below to catch you on your way down, or you don't have a parachute, then you're going to tumble off of that tall building and very likely hurt, if not kill yourself. And again, your awareness of the law of gravity or your unawareness doesn't matter. The result will still be the same. Well, that's how it works with these universal laws that govern you receiving the money and wealth you want into your life. Disobey those laws, and whether you understand them or not, they are still in place. And like the law of gravity, you will still hurt yourself. So you need to be aware of how they interact with each other. Most people have only heard of the law of attraction and not the other laws. And if you're not obeying all the laws simultaneously, or at least in the right order at the right time, you will frustrate yourself trying to manifest money and wealth in your life. So this book actually goes through the laws in detail, and that's why I thought I would share it with you. And here is where we are in the book. We are on page 65 of 115 pages in the PDF. I don't know if that's the page it is in the book, but if you go download the same PDF file that I did from the website, or go to Facebook and get it there where I put it, then if you go to page 65, you can follow along with us. So we've gone through a few of the laws right now. I'm going to do some reading. I'll give commentary where I feel that it's appropriate, maybe take this thing apart a little bit to help you understand it better. We'll go along and follow guidance as we do this. And as far as you guys interacting with us, I like to leave time for that. So what we do is we leave somewhere around 10, maybe 15 minutes towards the end where you can share your comments, where you can share your experiences, and where you can ask questions. So for now, I'm not going to be answering those questions, and we're not going to have those comments until we get to that point. But you will have the time to do that, and it should be valuable to you and those who choose to share their comments and ask their questions. All right. So now you know how things are going to roll today. And I'm going to jump into law of polarity. Get a quick sip of water here. In the last chapter, I mentioned that something would get in the way to thwart your plans. Here we will talk about just how to think when that happens. I hope by now you see the importance of guiding your thoughts. It is no less important when you are faced with opposition. In fact, it is most important to do when you're faced with opposition. You will find that how you should think during challenging times isn't all that difficult. It actually feels good because with the following information, you will be able to be at peace in affliction and also know that your thinking is the exact right way to think, and that by doing so, you're qualifying yourself for all the potential good that it has to offer. The law of polarity states that everything, and I mean everything of consequence, has an opposite. It's a law. You can't fall 6 feet down from only being 4 feet up. You can't turn left without coming from the right. Yes only exists because no does too. Otherwise, it would be meaningless. Speaking of meaningless, did you know that you can't poke your eye out? You can poke it in, but you can't poke it out. I suppose you could reach up your nose and poke it out. Right, Ken? That's a friend of hers. The point is, no pun intended, that there's no such thing as in if there were no out. These are all opposites: good, bad, dark, light, male, female. Each one is meaningless without the other. It has been said in this way: the divine shepherd has a message of hope, strength, and deliverance for all. If there were no night, we would not appreciate the day, nor could we see the stars and the vastness of the heavens. We must partake of the bitter with the sweet. There is a divine purpose in the adversities we encounter every day. They prepare, they purge, they purify, and thus they bless. It is important to realize that the experiences that we call unfortunate are, in every case, good for us. If they were not more obvious feel-good, if they are not the more obvious feel-good blessing, they are character-building experiences. We'll get through our trials. If we don't give up, we'll conquer and learn important lessons with the help of the Lord, but we have to keep our eyes on the prize in order to benefit from such tragedies and hardships. Just knowing that opposition is a natural part of life, experience can help us deal with our disappointments more gracefully. For it must needs be that there is an opposition in all things. If not so, my firstborn in the wilderness, righteousness could not be brought to pass, neither wickedness, neither holiness nor misery, neither good nor bad. Wherefore, all things must needs be a compounded one. The law of polarity also declares that everything has an opposite that is of equal degree. In other words, if it is very, very far to walk from Los Angeles to Phoenix, then it is equally very, very far to walk from Phoenix to Los Angeles. So long as the elements of the situation remain constant, there will always be two perspectives from which to view it. In this case, the direction of travel is the only difference. It is the same distance both ways. There are basic elements of any situation, but the situation itself is never fundamentally good or bad. We talk about this in lesson 2. As we learn by the law of relativity that things are only good or bad relative to something else, in this lesson we learn that things have within them both good and bad. When you experience a bad situation, then the law of polarity assures you that there is within it something good. If something is a little bad, then it is only a little bit good. If something is catastrophic, then you can be sure there is within it something phenomenal. Opposite, equal and opposite. Napoleon Hill, one of the most quoted authors from the 20th century self-help literature said, every adversity, every failure, and every heartache carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit, from Think and Grow Rich. Suppose something comes along that seems insurmountable to you while you're in the pursuit of your goal. The worse it seems, the better it is, really. I believe one of the reasons why the survivors of the Martin Handcart Company from Lesson 2 were able to feel privileged to have been part of the group, in their extremities, they became acquainted with God himself. I don't really get more acquainted with God when I stub my toe, you know? And what greater thing could we ever achieve than to know God? I don't mean know about God, I mean know him. Gideon and the Midianites. Consider the story of Gideon and the Midianites in Judges chapter 7. There's such a powerful lesson in this story to help you understand why obstacles are part of the process. Gideon was called to lead his army to conquer the Midianites. There were 32,000 men in his army, and the Lord told him that he had too many. Too many? Who wouldn't want too many? Do you ever look at your situation and think, it would sure be nice if I had more going for me? The Lord told Gideon to find out who in his army was afraid to go to battle. What was he told to do with those who were afraid? They were sent away. But aren't sheer numbers an advantage? Not if the numbers bring fear to the fight. So he did, and was left with 10,000. Once again, the Lord said he had too many. Why? Well, the Lord knew that if they went to battle with a large army and won, that they would pat themselves on the back for conquering the foe themselves. God wanted them to know, without a doubt, that he was responsible for their victory. God wants your victory, and he wants you to know that you couldn't have done it without him. If the task is too easy, then when you conquer, you might think it was your strength alone that did the job. So the Lord told Gideon to take the men to the water and let them drink. Those who brought the water to their mouths with their hands, he kept. Those who knelt and drank directly from the body of water were sent home. How many men were left to fight the battle? Only 300. Insurmountable odds. Do you feel like the odds are against you too? To me, water is symbolic in the scriptures for Christ. I was taught, come unto Christ for his living water. In our pursuit of prosperity, I felt I should do as Gideon did with the little thought soldiers I have in my head, by sending the fearful ones away and then relying on Christ, the living water. By stratagem, God made Gideon victorious in such a clever way. The men were told to surround the Midianites at night with lamps inside their pitchers in one hand and a trumpet in the other. Upon Gideon's signal, they shouted together, broke their pitchers, and blew their trumpets. In the dark, the groggy Midianites saw and heard all the commotion and ended up confused, fighting against each other and fleeing away. Gideon had conquered without a single one of his men ever being wounded. Your goal will be accomplished through God, most likely in a clever way as well. I've seen too many people give up on a goal because things got hard. I've even heard some say that everything went wrong, so that's a sign that I wasn't supposed to happen for me. Things will get hard, but that's just the evidence you need to know that the reward is just that much closer. Satan always supplies opposition, and he tends to really give it all he's got right before the potential breakthrough, in hopes we'll give up. Too often, too many of us do. I show unto the world that faith is things which are hoped for and not seen. Wherefore, dispute not because you see not, for you see no witness until after the trial of your faith. Keep in mind also that even if you don't get what you desire when you want it, consider that opposition and keep at it. Don't throw your knowledge of the laws away because something didn't happen according to your plan. Rest assured, the reward will be just that much better for your patience. My father taught me that God doesn't always come when you want him to, but he's never late. You'll learn more about that in our final lesson. Keep your thoughts focused on the desired result. In spite of the lack of evidence that this is coming, remember, as you hold on to your focused thoughts, the formless substance is gathering to cause your idea to materialize. And when an elephant sits on you, look for the blessing that will come out of it. You don't have to know what the blessing will be. Just know that it will be just exactly what it needs to be for your good. Trust that God knows best and won't lead you to misery, but joy greater than you can comprehend. As you look for the good in a bad situation, you'll be preparing yourself to find and receive the good that is in there. If you never look for it, you may never find it, and you could live your whole life only seeing and experiencing the bad. High achievers, those who live abundantly, make this a habit. They look for good, and more good is realized. Your desired results always follow a trial of your faith. It is a test. What a thrill it is to pass the test. Pass the test by holding on to your belief and sending away the fearful thoughts in your mind. Draw near to God through the refiner's fire. The greater the challenge, the greater the reward by law. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. It's all good. All things will work together for your good. They might seem bad, but that by the law of polarity, it is good too. Think about the part of it, or think about that part of it, and the worthy thing you desire will continue toward you. And if thou shouldst be cast into the pit, or into the hands of murderers, and the sentence of death passes upon thee, if thou be cast into the deep, if the billowing surge conspire against thee, if fierce winds become thine enemy, if the heavens gather blackness and the elements combine to hedge up the way, and above all, if the very jaws of hell shall gape open the mouth wide after thee, know thou, all these things shall give thee experience and shall be for thy good. If the sheriff comes and take thee and take thine house from thee, or if the utility company threatens to shut off thy water, or if thou cockest thy head on the corner of thy cupboard, it's all just part of the mortal experience. Do all you can and trust that whatever happens is for your good. So-called failure isn't fatal. Take courage and face your problems head on. Do not run from creditors. Have the integrity to contact them first if there's a problem. Don't wait for them to be the ones to announce there's a delinquency. Integrity is foundational to these ideas. You must be committed to honesty in all your dealings with your fellow man. God has provided a way for us to keep all the commandments, and honesty is something we must take seriously. So be sure to live that law now in your present circumstances. Your financial life will improve. You'll find the abundance you seek, but never compromise your integrity in the pursuit, or it will all come falling down. Live by law. It will set you free. Here's an interesting piece of information that I hadn't realized before. I've played with Lego blocks for more than 30 years and never knew what the name meant until I looked up the company to provide the trademark credit for this book. Did you know that Lego comes from the Danish word leg godt, which means play well? In Latin, it means I put together. Both phrases beautifully embody the principles of building a better life on the creative plane. All right, lesson 5, the law of rhythm. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit further with the reading. So the law of rhythm, I'm not going to go through this whole chapter, but we're going to go through part of it. Remember when we discussed that everything vibrates? The world is in an ocean of motion. I like that phrase. It's another one I adopted from Bob Proctor. Well, for this lesson, I'd like you to think about the world as the ocean of motion. But instead of picturing a buzzing and blurry collection of atoms and molecules bumping around all over the place, imagine the movement of things as being smooth and peaceful, like the ocean. The tide rises and falls. The waves come in and they go out. Microscopically, the elements are chaotically bumping around all over the place, but zoom out and you'll see rhythm. I studied mathematics in college. As a part of my studies, I was able to take a brief look at recently discovered phenomenon that scientists call chaos. James Gleick wrote an excellent book on the subject, but it doesn't sound all that scientific, does it? Sounds like my house with several little ones running around underfoot. But it is fascinating to study. The experts have looked at things in nature, things that seem random or things that seem disorderly, and have been discovering patterns that were not obvious before. They have taken mammal population data, and where results seem erratic, the computer imaging, they have graphed the data, and by zooming way, way out, they see patterns they've never noticed before. By dropping an ink droplet in water, they have seen quantifiable similarities between the shapes it creates as it falls and the physical characteristics of a jellyfish. The pattern of lightning, the air currents, all these natural unpredictable behaviors have more to them than we have understood. My favorite example of a pattern in nature is captured in a scientist's illustration of how a shoreline looks from different perspectives. Suppose a man is asked to measure the length of Great Britain's shoreline, figure 1, and we'll see that in a moment. He could take a yardstick and walk it off, and then count the number of times the yardstick was placed along the shoreline. But if he took a ruler and did the same thing, he would get a different overall length. That is because the yardstick cannot account for the ins and outs of the shoreline that occur within the space of the yard, the way the ruler can. The ruler would be responsible for measuring a lengthier shoreline. Again, he would end up with an entirely different measurement by using a smaller unit, because it would account for the jagged ins and outs that could not be measured with a ruler. Now, if we were to repeat this process, measuring with shorter and shorter units until he was finally negotiating each pebble or grain of sand, the measured length of the shoreline would be nearly at its longest. You guys take a look right here. So what is my point? Hang in there, it's coming. I remember a song from my childhood, something about, that's about the size, where you put your eyes, that's about the size of it. In other words, how big it is depends on your point of view. As for the shoreline, the ins and outs exist at each level of measurement, right? But no matter what the unit of measurement, the resulting water line would still consist of ins and outs. Pictorially, the jagged edges are just as jagged from 30 miles off the ground as they are from 15 miles, 10 feet, 2 inches, etc. This is fractional geometry. It's really quite amazing, and it's the stuff that has made computer-generated images so realistic. Interestingly enough, the fractional geometry parallels our life experiences. Our experiences have a common theme no matter how we look at them. Our shoreline is a timeline. Our ins and outs are ups and downs. We have prosperous years and we have challenging years. These years are made up of prosperous months and challenging months. These months are made up of prosperous days and challenging days. These days are made up of moments worth celebrating and moments that we just can't seem to handle. I believe that God uses nature to teach us about life and ourselves. His lessons for us are everywhere in the world around us. What do we learn from this lesson? We learn that by law, we are guaranteed better times ahead. If we're on a down, we can expect an up. Start expecting it. If it's been a bad year, start looking forward to the good year coming. If it's been a bad day, get excited about the good one just around the corner. This law is our reason for being able to look forward with certainty to God's blessings. Maybe that's why God gave us a shoreline, so that when we look at it, if we really study its creation, we would actually learn hope. It's that God's message to us, or is that God's message to us in a shoreline? Maybe, maybe not. Still, I know he wants us to embrace hope. The hope of the righteous shall be gladness. But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. By rejoicing in hope, be rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. The law of rhythm states that nature's movements are cyclical. There is repetition in everything. We see this in many ways in the way the planets move, in the seasons, in the tide, and even in our personal circumstances. We have our own sort of biorhythm. We feel good, we feel bad. We experience joy and sadness over and over throughout our life. Because of the law of polarity, we know why these experiences are important. The sad times give meaning to the happy times. Without them, we wouldn't know what happiness was. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 teaches that there is a season for everything. And by the mere use of the word season, we deduce that the times to weep and laugh are cyclical. The times to get and the times to lose are also going to be repeated, just as the seasons repeat. It does not say to everything there is a moment. Neither does it say to everything there is permanence. It says to everything there is a season. I try to use my knowledge of this law to my advantage. When I'm overcome with despair, I remember that I can count on an upturn of events. I begin to look for evidence of it. You may want to review the law of perpetual transmutation to see why doing this will literally bring the upswing sooner. And by the way, I know one of the questions you might have is, well, then if good and bad are always going to happen, do I have any control? What she just said right here, review the law of perpetual transmutation to see why doing this will literally bring the upswing sooner. You actually can have more good than bad in your life, even with the law of polarity and the law of rhythm. So if things are good, do we have to expect them to go bad by law? No, you shouldn't be shooting yourself in the foot to entertain such thoughts. This is an example of one of those times I said to choose wisely the law or tool in your toolbox. Don't be thinking about the friction on your satellite during reentry if you have no intention or desire of having it reenter. Choose your thoughts. Intentionally exercise your free agency to choose your thoughts. It will pay great dividends. Here's what you do instead. Remember the law of polarity by which we know that even the worst circumstances are actually fabulous? There you go. That's the tool you summon. Not satisfied? Okay, skeptics, approach it this way. Picture a horizontal wavy line, figure 9. We'll see that in a moment. Up and down, up and down. Some people look at life this way. They're up, so they expect things will eventually go down. This feeling can't last forever. Step aside, friends. They're attracting exactly what they expect. On the other hand, there are people that strive for better times. And when they experience some, they get comfortable there and level out. Eventually, they become dissatisfied with their circumstances, and what was once wonderful becomes commonplace. They may feel low, but it isn't because they are low. It's because their divine nature beckons them to seek even better circumstances. However, to them, they'll be feeling the law of rhythm in action. They'll feel that they're on a low and have come down from a high. But from God's perspective, I believe it looks more like eternal progression, higher levels of awareness, continual learning, continual growth, and approaching their potential. That horizontal wavy line can be rotated just 45 degrees, and the ups and downs instead become a stairway, figure 10. True happiness comes from the feeling that the soul is expanding, that we are learning and applying something new that brings us closer to God. So this is how most people live their life, not understanding the laws and applying them on purpose for their benefit. And here is what's really happening to someone who is obeying those laws. When you feel the little bit of a dip or you feel that you flatten out, you may then inside you still want to obtain more. You still want to be, do, and have more than you have done so far because you know that there's more potential in you. So when you level out for a little bit, you will probably, it'll feel a little more like the dip, but it's really not a dip. It's just that you've stayed in the same place for a while and you're not feeling the high any longer. But this is the kind of life we really want to live, and it's the kind we can choose to live if we apply these laws correctly. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop there for now. And we will pick up there tomorrow. I'm going to come out of screen share here, see all your wonderful smiling faces. If you're on, I see a lot of names more than I see faces, but anyhow, awesome. Thank you guys. It looks like we've had several people join us since we got started. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. And what we're going to do at this time, this is the time for us now where if you have anything that you would like to share, if you have any comments, if you have any ahas, experiences, if you've utilized the law of attraction to manifest great things, money and wealth in your life, and you would like to share those experiences, awesome. And or if you have questions related to what we've read today or in related to manifesting money and wealth in your life, this would be the time to ask. All you need to do is come off of mute and start talking. And then I will take you in the order you do that. If two of you do it simultaneously, we'll try and figure who went first and let the next person go next. So now's the time for you guys to share your comments and or ask your questions.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Francine.
So when something unpleasant happens to me in my life, I've been trying to find the silver line, what I call the silver lining. So something bad just happened. I'm sure it's because something good is going to be happening at the opposite end. So the way we were reading it just now is that, okay, something good will happen, but don't look for what it will be. I've always looked for, okay, what is a silver lining? And sometimes it comes to me and sometimes it doesn't. So is it a bad thing to try to figure out what that silver lining is?
Oh no, it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. The very first thing to try and do if something isn't going the way that you want it to, the first thing I want to do before I start looking for all of that is I want to understand that in some way, shape, or form, I probably had something to do with that creation or manifestation. It's better, I feel more empowered if I actually say that I probably had something to do with causing that. Because if I had something to do with causing it, that means I could also have something to do with fixing it. Okay. So what I like to do first is if something's happening that I don't care for, then I like to state the opposite of it is what I want. So as a for instance, I mean, not that that's what's happening right now, but I'll just give you one, right? I receive a bill that's more than I expected, and I don't have money sitting there right at that moment to pay for it. Let's just use that as a hypothetical example, right? Well, the feeling I have isn't good right now, but what do I really want? Well, two things probably. I would like to have some more money and I'd like to have the bill paid. Rather than complain about the bill in my mind and feel bad about it, I can turn that around and go, okay, what I do want, what I'm so happy and grateful that this bill is now paid. I'm grateful that the company that supplied the service to me is in business and made my life easier. And I'm grateful for what they're doing for me. I'm also grateful that more money is coming to me now, so that going forward, every time I receive a bill like this, not only can I pay it, but I actually have a surplus left over in the bank when this happens. So I'm so grateful for that. So I want to actually change around what it is. So I want to actually kind of create the good I'm looking for. What in that situation might be the good? Well, I found it because I actually chose to find it. It's the opposite of whatever the bad was. So I actually don't have to look for the good for it in a sense. I can create the good that it is and change the way I think about it. What's that going to do? It's going to change my vibration to be more positive and in the direction that I want. And when she's talking about the waves and things that are going on there, by using my own will to choose what I think, the lows can be a lot shorter and the highs can be a lot longer. But it's still going to occasionally feel those dips because it won't feel like there's much progression, even if I could. But what I can do is I could possibly look at that and go, well, look where I'm at compared to where I started 3 years ago or 2 months ago or a week ago or 2 days ago, right? Look at the progress I've made. And I'm looking forward to that same kind of leap going forward as I make my journey through life. Is that helpful, Francine?
Well, can I relate to you a situation that
If you
I
want to.
went through and see how you would have reacted? So basically, my son lives in France, and
Okay.
2 years ago, I was going to take my trip back home, and then I realized I had lost my passport the day before my flight home. So basically, I lost that flight and had to drive. He's in France, so we had to drive to Berlin, Switzerland. Not Berlin, but anyway.
Switzerland, okay. I lived in France for a while.
And so, yeah, we had to drive about 3-4 hours to get to this town to get in Switzerland so I could get a temporary passport from the American embassy. And then after that, there was no flights to go back home because they were retiring some airplanes.
Okay.
And, so I looked at it. Okay, well, this enables me. The silver lining is, this is the way I looked at it. It was a very bad experience that cost me a lot of money, and time, but I looked at it as, well, I guess I'm going to be spending more time with my son and my grandchildren. How would you have looked at it?
So right now, because I understand a little, how it all interacts with everything, I would have done what you did, which is, hey, I'm grateful for the time. And in order to enjoy the time, I would also expect, hey, if something is taken from me accidentally and it wasn't really my fault, yes, I will claim, right? I want to be responsible. So somehow I did something to forget about the passport or lose it or whatever, right? I'll take responsibility, even though I may not know at the moment. And I will go on that journey that I need to go on to do what I need to do. And as I'm figuring out, as things are unfolding, then I'm making new decisions and thoughts. But you know what? This is time that I get to spend with my family and everything. And God is so good that anytime that I have to spend money that I wasn't intending on spending for something that I wanted, I know God will immediately replace that money in my account. So I'm not going to worry about it. God is going to take the money that was taken from me, and not only will he put it back, but he will multiply it, because I'm choosing to have a good attitude about what's going on. So I trust that nobody can take from me what is justly mine, and that God will protect my life and my finances and bring to me that which has been lost back in multiples.
And that's see, I did not go to that extent of replacing and believing that it would be replaced. So yeah, okay. So now I know that I have to go further than just looking at the immediate silver lining. I have to go further than that.
Right, because you were still feeling bad. You have to go however far you have to go so that you don't feel bad about the situation any longer.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Yes, I'm just going to hop on this train of thought right now, because I've been in business for a very long time and I've had a lot of successes, but I've also had people, as I mentioned to you, Kevin, take advantage, because I always feel like I need to be in service. And we talked a little bit about that I accepted that, and I'm not accepting that anymore. I've made a decision to be very profitable and to have people pay me on time.
Awesome.
And yeah, so and I also realize, having gone over today, that I made an error myself just a few months ago, where business was going well. A new person came into my life to assist me, but basically was a competitor, was and kind of, I'm going to say, like an unscrupulous person. Okay. So I let them get the better of me, and I did not feel grateful for them. I actually kind of went on my warrior attack mode that I can do as a business person. And that is really bad. I'm breaking laws. And I realized it last night at about 2:00 in the morning. I shot up in bed and realized, oh my gosh, I've broken the laws. And this is why now it's a bit of a stall mode. I need to kind of regroup and refresh. So thank you. And I welcome your comments. Thank you.
Yeah. So at this point, again, whatever makes you feel good again is the most important, because then you know that what you're attracting into your life is going to be something that pleases you. So if you're still feeling the negative vibe, so to speak, and you're not feeling good about that situation, there's a few different things we can do. And everybody's probably on here different religiously. So I'm going to tell you that, in my case, I'm Christian. So in that case, I believe that Christ, already paid the price for my mistakes and my sins. So I'm going to be grateful that he has done that, and that I have the ability to work with God to fix whatever got messed up, right? So in that scenario, I would say, I'm so happy and grateful, thank you, God, for sending your son. I realize now, I've come to an aha moment that I realize my thoughts, feelings, and actions towards so-and-so were inappropriate. I'm so grateful that because of what Jesus did, I don't have to pay the price for my mistakes and my sins. He already has. Therefore, what I want to do is ask you, God, to pour out your blessings upon such and such person. And I'm totally willing to do my part to make whatever amends are necessary to put things right. I know as I do that, I will trust in you to help me be guided and directed to feel good about this, and I will follow that path. regardless of how this person reacts towards me, I know this is the right thing to do. And I know that you can take care of it. Also, I know that anything that I felt I've lost can be not only restored, but multiplied and replenished more than I ever had it in the first place. Something to that effect. You're welcome.
Quick question. Hi, Kevin. Thanks again, always. Maybe that's an easy one. It's about how we have to sometimes break the resistance or do the difficult things or overcome our fears, things that feel uncomfortable, leave our comfort zone. Does that go hand in hand with the law of attraction, or?
Yeah, so what you're talking about at this point, so you've got the law of attraction, it's always going, it's always in place, it's always happening. What came up for Tanya, for instance, when she reacted the way she did, that's probably really not who Tanya is. Okay, what that was a program Tanya has. An old program she doesn't care for anymore. She admitted, like, the old me came out, right? So therefore, her programming at a subconscious level was, this happened to me, therefore I'm going to go do this as a result. But she also had an awareness that wasn't the right thing to do. Okay, when you ask for something and you've taken the time to visualize and feel good about it and implant that into formless substance, matter, energy, whatever you want to call it, right? It's now receiving that. Well, your subconscious mind now is starting to help you a little bit, but it's also skeptical at the moment. It doesn't decide good, bad, right, or wrong. It wants things to stay normal for you. And what's normal for you is whatever is. Doesn't mean it doesn't decide good, bad, right, or wrong. It just says, this is what's normal, right? Because this is what's been allowed to be the program. So what'll happen is you will have done a good job of giving that message, and God will, however you want to see God, right? You will feel the desire, or when you originally asked, you'll feel like it's what you should do, right? Here, this is what I want, and you'll feel good about it. And then you, at some point, either right then or somewhere in the future, will be given the idea that you need to do something. But that something could scare you. It's only scaring you because you haven't done it before. God's not going to ask you to do anything that's going to harm you. It's going to scare you because you haven't done it before, and your subconscious mind is going to jump up and go, that's not normal. It won't tell you that's what it's doing. What it does is it works by giving you feelings in your body, mostly, that, you know, that feeling in the stomach, or the headache, or the dry mouth, or the whatever happens to you when you get fearful and feel that way. You have to go back and remember the answer you originally got. You have to remember the good feeling and the desire, and you have to remember that you're being prompted by God to do this thing. And you got a couple options. Go with what you were originally told and just step through the fear. And what'll happen is, if you do that in this scenario, you will probably never have to do that again for this scenario, meaning the fearful feeling will have gone away. You'll do it over and over again for other scenarios. But that helps you get going faster, because if you choose not to do that and you revert back and you give up on what you asked for, you may decide that you still really want it. And so then you try again, and you try again a few months later to put it out there. And then you run in the same thing. Then you try, and after a while, you're like, oh, this God probably just doesn't want this for me. He always did. So you actually have to step through it. And usually, as you step through it, you're going to have those feelings, but that's your subconscious just throwing things out there at you, right? It actually can't stop you unless you allow it to, but it's not going to totally feel comfortable. The only things that are going to feel comfortable when we do them, that are things not in opposition to what we're already programmed. If we have a strong program in our subconscious mind and we're going to go do something that it feels is in opposition to that this isn't normal, it's always going to feel uncomfortable. But when you ask for the thing that you want, before the subconscious mind has had time to mess around with you, and you've made up your mind what you want, and you ask God for help with it, and you implant that, and you get that feeling that this is right for you, and he's there, however you believe, he, she, whatever, is there to help you, then you hold on to that. and you reinforce that feeling. Hey, I know that God told me that this was right for me. I already know that he's capable of giving me direction and answers, so I make the right moves. I know if I were to make a mistake, he will come back and grab me quick enough that I won't fall down a path that's wrong for me. Blah, blah, just say what it is that you want. And so that will help you get through that process, because God will be stronger than the subconscious. What you don't want to do, though, is try and use your willpower against subconscious. That's where you're going to lose. Trying to use your willpower versus your God power. Willpower will not beat subconscious. It always loses. God power can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Kevin. This is Landon. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
So I started right at the end of your last book, The Science of Getting Rich. And so I ordered it, and I've been kind of going through it, and I had a question. So sorry to revert back. But there's this whole section that talks about like purpose to realizing your vision. And it refers back to you have to have your faith behind your purpose, but also your unwavering faith into believing that everything's going to come to you. So I'm trying to figure out what it's trying to refer to when it says purpose, and like how to get that more.
Well, your purpose is whatever it is that you want. So it's not your life's purpose it's talking about. It's your intention to have what it is you ask for actually materialize.
Okay.
So it's like, not only do I want it, but I'm not just daydreaming. Like, I'm going to work together with God so that I can receive this thing in my life into physical reality. And it's not just this like fleeting wish or daydream. It's an intention that it's going to happen.
Okay, cool. That makes more sense.
Cool.
By the way, I started doing that list of 300 things. I'm at like 220, and it's tough. It's like I'm trying to figure out what else I want. I'm like, man, I got like 80 left, and I'm still working at it. But
okay, I'll help you get one more right now.
Okay.
Okay. What is something that you, and it may already be on there, what is something that you really like to do? What kind of hobby? What do you like to do for entertainment or travel or whatever?
I like traveling, experiencing new cultures. I love outdoor stuff, backpacking. Okay.
So where's somewhere you've been that you like the best? What is somewhere you have not been to? And maybe you did write this down already, that's fine. Where's somewhere you've been to that you really like the most, and where is somewhere you would like to go to that you have not been to?
Ireland.
Okay, let's take Ireland.
Okay.
Is that one you've liked the best or haven't been to yet?
Both. Sorry, I haven't been to yet.
You haven't been to yet. Okay, cool. When you've traveled in the past, how did you fly? I suppose you're not going to walk to Ireland. That's why I'm asking.
Right. How did I fly? Just in an airplane? I went to Thailand and flew, and it was.
When you flew to Thailand, or when you've flown in the past, what level of comfort did you take on the plane? What level did you fly?
It was just the standard seating.
Okay, is that the best?
No.
Okay. So what you can add is, I now have enough money in the wherewithal that when I fly, I always fly business class, or I always fly first class. I get to rest. I'm come up more refreshed. I don't bump up against the fat guy Kevin sitting next to me. I could say that, right? I just take whatever it is that you already like to do and take it to the umph level, right? I don't know if you're married or have a girlfriend or significant other or anything. Okay, you're married. So think about when you were dating, right? When I was dating, I was trying to do things a little bit better than I normally did them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Take everything that you got and put it to a new level. Whatever you wrote down, I want to go do this. Not only do I want to do it, but I'm like going to do it the way that Richard Branson would do it, right? I'm going to do it the way Tony Robbins would do it. I'm going to do it as if, matter of fact, I'm going to get invited by somebody who's wealthy to actually take me on their private plane to Ireland.
Okay.
Be totally different, but then you don't run out of stuff. You just take what it is that you really like and take it to a umph level beyond what you normally would take it to. And since for now, you're not trying to figure out how it's going to happen, that just makes it that much more fun anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That help? I think you could probably get to 300 today now that I told you that.
Yeah, definitely. I got some work to do, but yeah, I can definitely get there.
Yeah, like I put one out for myself, and so I don't have any friends that play in the NBA. I really like the NBA as far as watching games and stuff. So I thought to myself, okay, no matter how wealthy I become, what is something that I wouldn't actually be able to buy, but that I would like to do? I mean, and really, you know, I could have millions of dollars, but if what I decided to write down is I'm going, you know, I'm attending an NBA Finals series, and I've been giving tickets behind the bench of the team by one of the players on the team. So a lot of things would have to happen. I'd have to go meet somebody that plays in the NBA. They'd have to be on a team that's good enough to be in the finals. They'd have to like me well enough to want to give me the ticket. And chances are I can't just say, hey, if I give you 50 grand, would you give me the ticket? Because if they're that good, they're making 30, 40 million, and who cares, right? I mean,
yeah.
If I offered 20 million, they'd give me the ticket, but that'd be kind of ridiculous. And somebody can always outbid me because there's always going to be a billionaire, right? You know, now I'm playing a silly game and I'm being competitive. But so I just took it to, hey, I'm being invited by one of the star players of the NBA team is handing me a ticket to sit behind their bench during the finals. Mm-hmm. I can't go buy that. So that's what's fun to create, because a lot of us think too, if I have enough money, I can do anything I want to do. Not completely true.
Right.
There's certain things that money.
Okay, that makes sense. Buy. So did you go to the NBA game?
I haven't done that yet, but that's on my 300 list.
Yeah.
But I have been flown in a private airplane, and I was given a car by someone.
Yeah. So do you read your 300 list often?
I haven't, to be honest. I probably should read it more. I spend more time on my current, thing that I'm, whatever my one. I don't like to, I have different things I create throughout my day, sort of as they come up or ahead of time. Like I'm going to meet with someone or whatever. So I try and create that scenario the way I want ahead of time. But when it comes to doing the 300, some of them are just going to happen because subconsciously you don't have a block. Mm-hmm. So just by asking and taking a little bit of time to feel it and emotionally enjoy it, you will plant a seed that will grow without you having to take care of the seed very much. But if it's a seed that I'm planting, like it's something that's been in opposition to my subconscious programming for a long time, I only try and take those on about one at a time.
Okay. Good to know.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome. All right. Well, we're definitely over by 15 minutes or so. I appreciate you guys spending this time with us. Hopefully you will be with us Monday through Friday, and hopefully you will go join the Facebook group. If there's any last question that, like, you know what, you won't sleep well tonight if you don't get a chance to ask it, I'll stay here for that one question. Going once, going twice. All right. Hey, thank you everybody for being here with us. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.